Well, howdy folks, it's Matthew, your friendly neighborhood technician, making another video for you out of Boise, Idaho. And over the course of the next couple days, I'm going to do my best to put together a 94-95 Lexus LS 400 timing, water pump, AC compressor, belt tensioner, and power steering pump replacement. Most important is going to be the breakdown and rebuild of the timing components, the timing belt and all that other good stuff. This vehicle came in making some terrible noises and the power steering wasn't working correctly. Found out that the AC compressor is froze up and the belt tensioner, the automatic tensioner assembly, was no longer performing correctly, so you didn't have proper tension for a belt on things like the power steering pump and stuff. I also found that the power steering pump is leaking. So the original job was AC system, belt tensioner, and power steering pump. But as I got in here and started noticing timing belt replacement stickers and whatnot, we all got together and decided it'd be best just to go ahead and take it all the way and do a timing job on it. It has 170,000 plus miles on it, so it's time for it anyway. So we might as well take care of it and get it done because this car does run phenomenally. So let's keep it alive and see if we can make it another 500,000 mile Lexus. So I've already kind of started here. There's not a whole lot of instruction to what you already see. I have remove the plastic covers so I can gain access to the distributors and all that other stuff, and continue getting my timing covers off. I went ahead and did the same here. This has to come off anyways to replace the tensioner. So to begin with, what you're really going to want to do is you're going to want to disconnect your battery first. Then you need to wait 90 seconds from the time the battery is disconnected. Just count 90 seconds. This vehicle has all kinds of energy reserve modules for computers and airbag systems. There's multiple energy reserve modules. I couldn't tell you where they're at or how many of them they are. I just know that they're there. And so on this particular make and model Lexus, actually any Lexus, when you disconnect the battery, wait at least 90 seconds before before you start any type of work or anything like that. And then from there, just go ahead and start getting all your plastic covers off, get your air breather and all that out of the way. You're also going to want to go ahead and remove your fan and your fan shroud, which is pretty easy. Drain your radiator, and then go ahead and from there start looking into getting your radiator removed. I think where I'm going to go ahead and go next is at some point we do need to turn this crankshaft so we can set top dead center, so when we pull the timing belt and all that other good stuff. The easiest way to do that is to go ahead and remove your spark plugs, because if you do that, then the cylinders are open and it'll be a heck of a lot easier to turn that crankshaft over. So that's what I'm going to do right now, and as you can see, there is just a ton of little stuff to disconnect that we need to get out of the way so we can get to this timing cover and get it safely out of the way without damaging it or anything like that. So that's basically what these next steps are going to be. I think the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and work on getting the spark plugs out. Now, once you've got your covers off, just be careful. You know, this is a 1995 car, so it's a little old, which, you know, again, doesn't mean anything. At 170,000 miles, this engine's just barely starting to break in. But just be careful because they're held by little plastic clips. And so just, you know, just gently, doesn't take a lot, just pull them out. And so that way you don't break any of your plastic clips and you leave all your stuff intact. And then just go ahead and get those out. And then the same on the side over here. Go ahead and get all of this stuff out. And then work on getting your plug wires removed and all that other good stuff. Before we get too much further, now I don't have everything out here, but for a timing job like this on this vehicle, you're going to want anything from an 8mm on up to a 22mm socket. You're going to want a decent set of swivel sockets, at least a 10 on up to a 15mm swivel sockets. Wrenches, you're going to want pry bars, ratchets, breaker bars, and if you have air, just go ahead and plan on using your air gun to get that crankshaft bolt out. And so different sets of pliers and whatnot. I mean, you know, although the expertise level on this job I would say is a 9 out of a 10, with the 10-10 being a complete engine pull and rebuild. The reason why it's so high up there is because there's going to be a bunch of stuff, a ton of stuff that we're going to have to disconnect. All right, well, I'm going to pause it here while I go ahead and get my wires and my plugs removed and a few other things. All right, I'm going to show you something here. Again, you know, we want to be careful with this stuff. It's a Lexus. It's a good car. These plug wires you may find difficult to pull out by hand. And so instead of like grabbing it here and pulling or causing any damage, if you can, use a pair of hose pliers and get down in there. Hold on a second. I'm trying my best. I'm doing this one-handed here. Okay, and then get down in there and underneath there where you can twist and pull. There you go, at the same time. And then get your wire out without causing any damage or anything. If you pull here, you're gonna damage it. And honestly, if you grab and pinch here, there's been times where I've grabbed and pinched here and I pulled the rubber apart, and that's no fun. So yeah, you can use a pair of hose pliers if you have them to just grab it around here and then use that to pull up. And then as you're pulling up, you can twist it to get it to let loose there. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and move forward with these plugs and wires. All right, so I got all my plugs removed, spark plugs, all 4 on both sides, and then my wires out of the way. Now, as you move forward, if you don't want to, you'll realize that you don't have to completely remove every wire, and it also might help you for when you put things back together. A few of them you can just take and lay over the top of the engine just to get them out of the way, and you don't have to remove them. So I think the next steps are going to be, from here, is I'm going to go ahead and remove my thermostat housing. That's going to be a 12mm bolt. Let me show you something here. Be careful anytime whenever you're working with any type of coolant system. You see that rust right there? So that's just typical for thermostat housing studs and bolts on any type of car. Water pump bolts, stuff like that can get like that. So sometimes you might want to use a little bit of PB Blaster, some penetrating oil, to get in there and just break that rust bond so you don't end up breaking off a stud or something like that. So again, 12mm socket for the thermostat housing. And then you're going to want a 14mm socket to take your idler pulley off, and this idler pulley is going to be replaced. But I'm still going to place that in the bucket here. Alright, and then from there, you want to start looking into disconnecting all of your little electrical stuff and getting that out of the way. So you've got an electrical connection here, you've got a little coolant line here that runs to your thermostat housing, crankshaft position sensor, connectors. You've got these connectors here, you've got connectors down here that are above the AC compressor. So at this point now, what I think I'm going to do is just kind of work from left to right and back again, and work on getting all the little electrical connections out of my way. And then after that, I think my next step will be to go in and get the radiator out. Alright folks, so at this point I've got my radiator completely removed now. And I've got one side of my upper timing cover removed. Now I'm going to go ahead and get this side removed. And then I'm going to go ahead and start working on setting TDC and doing what I need to do to get the rest of these components off. Okay, so now that we got our two top covers off, I'm going to go ahead and come in here and get the distributor caps off. So you've got two distributors on here. You've got one on the driver's side and one on the passenger side. And I believe, what are these, 8 millimeters? So you're going to take an 8 millimeter socket. Dun, dun, dun. So an 8 millimeter socket, and you're going to remove the distributor cap. Try to keep them marked so you know what goes where. And then after that, we're going to go ahead and remove our distributor housing with 12 millimeter bolts. But before that, don't let me get too far ahead. After we remove our distributor cap, we're going to remove our rotors as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done, and then I'll show you what that looks like. All right, now we've got our distributor caps off. Now we're looking at our rotors, and you're going to have 8 millimeter bolts inside of here. See if you can see one right there and right there. And then same on the other side. You're going to have two 8 millimeter bolts that you're going to want to get in there and get. And so I'm going to put the camera down again and pause it. I'm going to get those out, and then we'll go from there. Alright, now that I've removed the cap and rotors for the distributor, I'm now going to go ahead and remove the distributor housing. And you're going to do that by removing three 12 millimeter bolts. You're going to have one here, back in here, and you'd have two here. And it'll be the same on the left side, and they're going to be marked left and right for you. So one here and then two here. I've already got these loose, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get those distributor housings off, and then we're going to go down to our crank pulley with a 22 millimeter socket, and we're going to set top dead center so we can start working on getting the timing belt taken apart. Alright, I just wanted to make note of something here. When you remove your distributor housing, so long as you've unplugged the proper plugs and whatnot, your camshaft position sensor, you don't have to remove that. It'll come out with your distributor housing, and you can just set that aside. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to look for our timing marks. Alright, and they're going to be kind of hard to find. Don't pay attention on the driver's side. Don't pay attention to these notches. This is the only notch you want to pay attention to. And as you can see, it's got like some black and white there. So I got kind of lucky. The paint's still there. This one is almost all the way gone, so I'm going to put a little paint there. So there's your timing marks. And when you're setting TDC, top dead center, on the Lexus LS400, you're going to do it per the crankshaft. And what we're going to do is turn this until we zero it out, and we'll find a notch for it, and we'll zero it out, and we'll make sure that all the marks up top are lined up. Another thing to keep in mind when you're timing an engine is one full rotation. So one full rotation on the bottom half of the engine only equals half a rotation on the top half. In order to get the top half of an engine to go a full rotation, the bottom half has to go 2 full rotations. So 2 full rotations equals 1 full rotation on the top half. So that's just give you a little information there. All right, well, I'm gonna go in and get my part set aside, and then set TDC. All right, so I went ahead and marked these so you can see where they're at. All right, so there's a mark there, and here is your timing mark on your timing cover backplating or your engine. Okay, and then same here. I marked it here, and then there's your timing cover back here. All right, and then here's your white spot. I'm not quite at TDC. I'm just off just a hair, but I'm almost there. What I want to do is I want to show you what it looks like if you're 180 degrees off. Okay, so even though my mark is on the 0 down here, right? My other marks are not. Again, they need to be here, not here. So right now they're 180 degrees off. Same here. So instead of being here, it's over here, and it's 180 degrees off. So we need to come around another 180 degrees back up to our marks. And to do that, we need to go one more full rotation on the crankshaft. Alright, so when you're pulling the timing belt, the main thing to remember is to make sure your TDC lined up on your crankshaft. And then, just like this one is off. It doesn't matter how many times you turn it over, however many times maybe you have a loose timing belt. You know, it's stretched a little bit, and so you're a tooth off or a quarter tooth off. These LS400 engines can be a quarter tooth off and still run. Yes, they are interference engines, but you have about a 2 to 3 tooth spread before you have any interference between the valve and the piston. So they'll still run just fine being a quarter tooth or a half a tooth off. What you really want to make sure your TDC is right here. And if you line up on your crank and you find yourself just a hair off, or you can't get it perfect, don't worry about that, because when you reinstall, you'll be able to reset the top part of this engine back to where it needs to go. So now that we have our timing set, the next areas that we want to go from here is go ahead and get our coil off here, and then we also want to get our AC removed. Now this AC is all locked up and together inside of there and all that other stuff. The clutch is blown out of it, so it'll be changed. If I hear it, if I turn it enough, you hear it. So anyways, this one's going to be changed, so I'm going to go and discharge the system, and then go ahead and completely remove this AC compressor out of here. But if you don't need to change the AC compressor, then what you can do is just simply disconnect it from the engine and just kind of let it set aside so you can gain access into here. By this point, you've also got your alternator disconnected, and you're pretty much good to start moving forward and thinking about getting your, this is what you called your fan clutch and bracket, getting that off, getting access to your water pump and everything else back behind there so we can get it changed out. Alright folks, well that's close to 20 minutes on this video, and it's hard for me to upload anything more than 20 minutes at a time. So I'm going to go ahead and end this video here with the installation of the timing. So just to kind of recap, if you're looking at changing out your timing or water pump on your Lexus LS400 95 model, first place to start is to go ahead and get all of your plastic coverings off and whatnot. Go ahead and get your spark plugs out. That's going to make the engine a lot easier to turn over when you need to find top dead center. And then from there, just kind of work your way back and forth. There's a lot to disconnect. Get your covers off, get all of your electrical connections off and out of the way. You want to get your fan and your fan clutch and all that out of the way, fan shroud. You also want to get your radiator disconnected and out of the way, your alternator disconnected and out of the way, your tensioner pulley disconnected and out of the way, your thermostat housing disconnected and out of the way. And just kind of take your time and go from there and get it all done. Hey guys, I appreciate you guys coming out and watching me. Thanks for all your support. If you have any questions, just shout out to me in the comments. We can trade emails, we can trade phone numbers. I have no problem helping walk you through your do-it-yourself project, all that other good stuff. Once again, thanks for the support, and this is Matthew, your friendly neighborhood technician, signing off.